Brijesh ji just commented that he would like to listen to more on what BPHS has to say. Not just BPHS, most of the text in Vedic astrology, when we look at them and when we talk about divisional charts, or rather when they write about divisional charts, they have a very strong point to write. The point is that there are rulers, Amsa rulers also. So today we are going to lay emphasis on those Amsa rulers. And the second point that we would be stressing on would be the nakshatras in divisional charts. This is something people may not have done before, but I have found excellent results with nakshatras in divisional charts. And so I extend this forward to Paul. Now, why do we need divisional charts, or what are they? So every house, as per our Rasi, will give us many karakatras. If I am talking about, if I'm talking about the fifth house, what does the fifth house have to tell us? The fifth house has to tell us about our love affairs. It has something to tell us about our knowledge, which we process it and make it as our knowledge we learn, and then we process it, and whatever the residue is, or whatever, how we process that knowledge, how we use it, is the fifth house. That is your intelligence in application of the knowledge that you have. The fifth house is also about Paravidya. What is the Paravidya? The Paravidya is that form of knowledge or Vidya, so to say, which is not in your books. It is something that one has to move in, and that is why one of the reasons why the fifth house is said to be very strong house. It is also the house that shows you the skills that you can have. It is also a house which is about your publications, and it is about our children, our students. Also, it is about our sudden something good money coming into our life, or when we see people working in big enterprises, it is that also. The list can go on to 80. Now, if I have to check something in the Rasi chart, say relating to children, how do I know that the planet sitting there will, yes, Mars is sitting there, I can tell people, giving other combinations, that Mars sitting there can give me a child through C-section, or can give me a child which is temperamental. But if I want to know more in detail about my children, what if I want to know more about how to see what kind of education I can have? What if I want to know more about the love interest that I have? What about the knowledge that I can acquire, which is not studies? So all these points, unless you are Rishi Parashar, and even he uses divisional charts, because he's given what to use from which divisional chart. So if I have to see the kind of wealth that I will be earning if I am a part of a big educational system, then I will have to, a part of a big enterprise, then I will have to go to the D10. If I have got to see about my love interest, then I have to go to the D9, and then subsequently the fifth house of the D9. If I have to see about my children, I see the Saptamsha. If I have to see the Paravidya, then I see the D20 chart. So all these things will move into different areas. Now we know for sure that the nakshatras can give very pinpointed results. Okay, so why not? If I have to take a particular division, okay, of a chart, then why not say if we are talking about the D10. Okay, so we know that in the D10 they're divided into 3 degrees each, and the way they are divided, a chart, an odd sign, an even sign, and where they fall also differs. We are not here into the making of the chart, which is important to know, so that you can place things mentally very quickly. But then here we are to understand what is the Amsa rulers also. So what are these Amsa rulers? In the D1, you are not going to find any Amsha rulers because we know that these are the planets assigned in different houses. And if you're interested, you can move into the Nakshatras and see where each planet is assigned. But who are the Amsha rulers? The Amsha rulers are typically associated with just one divisional chart. I request people to put on their videos. It's good to see the faces and understand what, if you're understanding, or should I elaborate more? Please, whoever can, please do that. So, you know what happens is when we're talking about these Amsha rulers give us a whole lot of information. I go into a divisional chart, I see, first of all, supposing I'm going to take, let's see. So, okay, so formally, if I have to see the divisional charts, what do they mean? When I'm talking about the Rashi, they give everything which is general can be seen from the Rashi chart. That's why I said that the first chart that everybody should see is the Rashi chart. Because until and unless there's a promise in the Rashi chart, it will not, even if it does show up in the divisional chart, and sometimes people ask a Prashna, in the Prashna, even if it shows up, the likelihood of it happening is rare. So in the D1 chart, if there is a promise, then we should go ahead with that. Then when we need to check the wealth, we see the D2. Dreshkan, we see the D3 for happiness of co-bonds. Now I'll just take this chart over. Okay, happiness of co-bonds. Why are the Amsha rulers important? When I am talking about the Amsha rulers, see, of the Dreshkan, these are the Amsha rulers. So the Dreshkan Amsha rulers are sages, 3 sages, Narada, Druvasa, and Agastya. I'll briefly tell you about Narada, Agastya, and Druvasa. Okay, so Narad Rishi is said to be the wandering saint. Okay, and he is forever moving around the universe, preaching the name of Lord Vishnu, because Lord Vishnu is his Ishta Devata. But Narad Rishi also has a lot of beautiful points. He's a very good tell-taler. What does he do? He listens to something at an X place, goes and deposits the same thing at a Y place with a little bit of tidbit from his side. If I am not being rude to Narad Rishi, I can say that he is a gossip monger. Okay, and he has a good quality to speak. One thing is that if people are nice, if people are good, and people have confidence in them, Narad Rishi is one of those people who always boosts up that confidence. For example, he was the one who initiated Dhruv Maharaj, or he was the one who initiated he was the one who initiated Dhruv Maharaj, and for Narsimha Avatar, he was the one who initiated Prahaladji when Prahaladji was in his mother's womb. So he also loves children, and he's good at initiating children into the path of the Lord. But he's also a gossip monk. And when he sees that somebody really needs to get over their karma, he ignites them to do their bad also. What more, Narad Rishi is a friend of both the Devatas and the Asuras. And in his very diplomatic and very sweet language, he's able to deliver the goods to all of them. So that is why he's a friend to everybody, because he is never blunt, he's never on the face. He leaves hints to people, and the people, the way that they are, the people whom he deals with, he makes appropriate remarks at the right time for them to absorb. But he's a wandering saint, and I repeat, he's also good at gossiping. Then we come to Agastya Rishi. Agastya Rishi is a very serene kind of a god, sage. He's very stout, but he's got great powers. and he's got a fan following, so to speak, in the strata above, with the sages, with the devatas, because his powers are exponential, or should I say exemplary. And whoever he comes across, he leaves an impression. He doesn't teach people or doesn't leave clues. You know, there are certain silent types out there. How do they do things? They rather do things instead of talking and teach by example. So Agastya Rishi is that type of a Rishi. He will teach by example. He'll for just a story that I can tell you about. There was these brothers who were a couple of Rakshasas. So they would, what they would do is, they would always get into, one of them would say that, look at the magic that we have, I can turn into anything. He would turn into a goat, somebody would kill, the other brother would kill and feed the first person, any outsider, that meat. And these brothers then knew the magic of coming alive in somebody else's stomach, and then that person, the person whom they had duped, would die. Agastya Rishi knew about it. But what did he do? He kept quiet. He ate that offering by the second brother and just at that moment digested it by just mentioning whom. As a result, that brother was dead. And the other brother, when he tried to get the brother out by killing Agastya Rishi, he could not do that. So you have to understand that Agastya Rishi here delivers by teaching examples, not by talking as Narad Rishi does. So this is the difference between the two of them. Let's move. See, I love astrology through stories, makes it interesting in the class and makes everybody happy, because we are still young at heart. We never grew out of that learning from stories phase, right? So now, when I'm talking about the third Rishi, Rishi Durvasa, if from personal experience, I can tell you, if there's somebody in the house who's very cranky and shouting, we say that please leave that person around. It seems that the ghost of Rishi Durvasa has visited this person. It means that you are to leave that person in a silent corner, because that person does have huge amount of powers. But the way he speaks, Dhruv Vasa itself means somebody whose speech is a little bitter to handle for us. And whenever Rishi Dhruv gets angered, it becomes a little difficult for people around him to handle him. So when Rishi Durvasa is angry, no matter who it is, be it Lord Shiva or be it Indra, they always have to bear the brunt of it. So you have to understand that these three have very different characteristics. Now let's go to your D3. Check out in your D3, who are you and how are you going to check out? You will be able to check out by seeing that when you do the divisions, you will see that wherever your Lagna is coming to, that is the nature that you have. The Aries, for the Aries Lagna, this is the way it is divided. For the Taurus Lagna, this is the way where planets are situated. Now, the first 10 degrees for all movable signs is Narad, the middle is Agastya, and the third is Dhruvasa. How do we do that? We move into a cycle. The D3 follows the same. It follows the same element. So the Narad Rishi of the movable signs will stay, first 10 degrees will stay in the same sign. The next 10 degrees go into the fixed sign, which becomes the Agastya Rishi, and the last 10 degrees will then move on to the fire signs. The dual signs. This is the way a chart can be well made. For those who have a problem, see, I'm just saying this in a hurry. So you may not be able to understand, but I'll make things a little easier for you here. Because if I take up the chart of, say, Mahatma Gandhi, and here I want to know when I've made the Drekan, I want to know how my Drekan is placed. Very quickly, I can go to the Amsha rulers in the basic itself and see in the D3, I will know that the Lagna is Agastya. Okay. Here we find the Lagna being in the movable sign. Why? Because the degree is, but the degree is 11 degrees. Beyond 10 degrees, it moves into the Agastya sign. So that what does it make Mahatma Gandhi as? It makes Mahatma Gandhi to be a very a person who always pre-plans everything, who's very quiet and calm under all situations, but knows how to act and does not and shows things by his actions more than by his words. Is that understood? But in the Drekan, am I really interested in knowing my own nature? Because all of us sitting here, there's nobody better than the Lord above and you who knows your nature. So am I really interested in seeing the in my nature? Yes, I would be interested in understanding if my husband's nature can be seen from the D3. I would really be interested in understanding the nature of my mother-in-law. Most of us would be, right? But am I interested in my nature? No. But if I want to see, is my relationship with my brother going to be all right? Because we do want to have good relationships with our siblings, right? Then what do I do? If it's an elder brother, which house am I going to see? I'm going to see the 11th house. If it's a younger brother, I'm going to see the 3rd house. So let's see how I am going to correlate in this chart. So my question here is, see, what is this chart here? This chart here, if I take the D1 chart, let me keep it at the at this level only, at this basic level, so we can have our attention here. Where is Jupiter placed, the 3rd lord placed? I see it's placed in Kritika Nakshatra, it's retrograde. Okay, Kritika Nakshatra is a nakshatra of fight. It is the nakshatra of Rakshasas. So I know that there could be a lot of, there may be love because it's Jupiter, but there is also fight. But is there any Amsha rulers for D1? No, they are not. But for D3, yes, we do have Amsha rulers. Let's take up the D3. In the D3, I see Jupiter is in the 11th house and it's 11th in its own sign. Okay, so now I am going to take the 3rd house here in the D1. We need to be able to correlate. That is very important. Please understand that if we cannot correlate anything, then it's of no use. And no chart in the D1 or in the divisional chart can be read by itself. There are many other ways, many other things that say that you cannot read it in itself in exclusivity, but here I'm just going to pinpoint it out to you and say that you have to read it in tandem, D1 and D3. Okay, so now when I am seeing the D3, I take it as, see here, it's Mars. Okay, who's the ruler of the D3 here? A 3rd house of the D3, it's Mars. I have to see the position of Mars and Jupiter, see which Amsha they are in. I'll just see it right from here. You see Mars is in Dhruvasa and Jupiter is also in Dhruvasa Nakshatra. Amsha. Tells me the entire story in matter of minutes. What is the moral of the story? His brothers, his siblings stayed out of his way. Why? Because he was always short-tempered with them. He wanted to guide them. He wanted to show them the way, but his way of showing it to them could not have been conducive to them. Okay, so let's also then put it through the nakshatras. Yes, are the nakshatras important? You bet they are important. Just have a look. So I take it to D3. What do I see in the D3? I see that Mars is in Adra Nakshatra. Do I really need to say anything more? Kritika and Adra both are showing that there is a lot of fight. There's a lot of anger. Kritika somehow would want to cement things better. But let's not forget that Kritika Nakshatra, Jupiter that is sitting there is sitting in the one of the, what should I say? It's sitting in a Shatru Sthana also, and it's right bang opposite the Lagna. So these brothers, these younger siblings will never get along with him on a equal footing, because he would not want to give them an equal footing and they would not want anything less. Because Adra has a typical quality, but that if you insult me, I'm not going to take it from you. And Adra and Dhruvasa, they really do make a formidable pair there. So you see how interesting it becomes, how pinpointing it becomes when we are putting in nakshatras also in divisional charts. The Amsha rulers are very important because all of that we see in the classical texts, BPHS or anywhere, chapter 9, chapter 10, you see it, they will always have mentioned Amsha because they give you a direct view of it all. And on top of it all, when you are applying the nakshatras, it's good to know it there. Okay, so any questions, anybody over here, anything that you want to know, please write on the chat box. When you write it in the chat box, we'll be able to listen. Otherwise, too many voices, everything gets confused. No questions? Okay. How did I see the Amsha rulers? Okay. So Ritu, I go to the basics of Jehora. I use Jehora for this because this is one of my favorite softwares. Then right at the basics, at the bottom, on the bottom, you will see that there are a number of options that you have. Key info is when all this comes up. Then you have the houses, and then you have the Amsha rulers. In the Amsha rulers, and Narsimha Rauji has been very gracious to give us key information on KP also. Amsha rulers will give us all that we want to. Okay, you will find all the Amsha rulers being there, and that's what I teach when we do that course.
So, ma'am, we can see all the Amsa rulers for all the divisional charts?
Yes, for all the divisional charts. You can
How
see.
How can we do this?
See, you can just do the right click. Okay. And if I say want it for D10, then all the Amsha rulers for D10 I have. If I do the right click, I want it for the D7. I can see that all of the Amsha rulers are here. Okay. Even with the Navamsha. Tell you what, in the Navamsha, you can just go and see if where Venus is situated and where your seventh lord is situated in the Navamsha and in which of the Amsha rulers. You'll get a very clear picture of how your spouse is going to be. Okay, so right. So good, Mr. Jagdish. So in the Navamsha, right? So I just take it in the Navamsha. Let's do the Navamsha here. Where say I am who's the seventh lord is Mars. Mars is Manushya. Okay, and the seventh lord here in this chart is Moon, Rakshasa. So how do you now use that both of them, Manushya and Rakshasa? Because everybody is not the one Vargottama Lagna. So you see that she did have a lot of anger in her also. She was very strong-willed. Rakshasas, people can say that they are angry. I would say that Rakshasas show a lot of strong will. The very few in the universe who have as strong will and dedication to get some work done. And she was a dedicated wife. But she also, and she was extremely compassionate. Human beings have that. But she also did have a temper with her children also. And that you can see it with how you can see the Manushas and the Rakshasas. And she was competitive, which you can also see from the Rakshasas as well as the Manushas. So this is how you have to correlate both of it together. Okay, Mr. Jagdish, any other question? Most welcome. So you can see, you can also see now there are many things that I see here. We are, I want to put in more examples for you. So probably I will not be able to go in deep detail, but what also you can see is how things are going to be for the family life. Are you going to have your share of happiness? Because the Nina in 4th house will show your share of happiness from marriage. So in which Amsha has the ruler gone? So if it's in the Dev Amsha, so then you can have a lot of happiness there. But if it's in a Manushya Amsha, then we can see that, you have to do something for the person to be able to receive that amount of happiness. And if I am seeing I'm just seeing the Rakshasa Amsa, then it's all right. You follow the rule, you're happy. If you don't follow the rule, then that's the way you can see things. There are many things that you can see from different houses, and not just the D7 7th house or the D10 10th house. No, but then that has to go into D. Yeah, so nature of the spouse in an accurate way, Vivek, is something that you would have to do. Check the 7th house. You have to set the placement of the 7th lord. Again, as I said, which okay, let's see. So in which nakshatra, good thing that you said. So in which nakshatra is the person for Mahatma Gandhi? So when we're talking about Mahatma Gandhi, 7th lord, say in the Navamsha, that is the moon, and the Mars. Let's see, Mars is in Mritsira and moon is in Uttar Bhadra. It appeared that they had a happy life. He stayed married to her always, but he was also looking for a partner. And I'm not going to go further because we respect him as the father of the nation. There are a lot of things out there that you can read and can understand, make out. Okay. Okay. So I would like to take up something else, show you a certain more, we'll move into something more interesting. Yes, spouse is important. What is the next important thing that all of us have in life to answer? We all want to know about wealth. Okay, Ritu. Profession. Good. Health. But see, we spend 10 hours at work. Not most of us, but many of us spend 10 hours. At least 7 to 8 hours we spend. Waking hours we spend with our work. And most of the times, at the back of our mind, there's one thing that is running. What is that? That is our work. I have to do this today. I have to do that today. I have to do this today. So
Anuradha, but work and wealth both have to go hand in hand.
No. That's where you're wrong. That's where you're wrong, Ritu. You will see that people can have, in the Ashtak Varga, people can have a lot of points, 35, 40 points in the 10th house. But they can just be having 23, 25, 27 points in the 11th house. In that case, they would not be earning that much of money, the kind of wealth that the work that they put in.
But they would go hand in hand, wouldn't they?
Yeah, to a certain level. For that, then we will correlate. This is again a very beautiful topic when you will be correlating things also.
Right.
Like the D2 and the D10. And seeing if the wealth that you're earning from your work is on a par level. Because your wealth is generally seen from the 2nd house, which is the D2. And if you do not earn that kind of wealth, that means there's some disturbance in the 2, 5, 8, 11 houses of the D2.
Right.
Okay. At the same time, you will often find people coming to you, Ritu, and telling you, see, I did a good job and people appreciate it, but I did not get the expected income or
Probably Ardra would be playing out for them, right? Feeling that they didn't get the name
no,
or
no, no,
the
no. You can also have a mula playing out for them. You can also have Purvashara playing out for them. So again, that's also in the D2.
right.
Okay. Okay. So let's move on to the Pari, that's good. How to check compatibility in marriage? I have a course on marriage compatibility, which I teach on one-to-one basis. So, and also there are a lot of videos that I've put up on the YouTube on marriage compatibility. So now we're talking about the D10. As I told you, the professions. Now the 10 digpals. Okay, all of us want a place of power and position in our work, isn't it? So who better to give that to us than the digpals? So they are the 10 digpals. Remember, Parashar Rishi has written this, or whoever who has heard Parashar Rishi has written this, and Parashar Rishi did have a lot in mind. We all want, he knows that for a fact, that all of us want a good place in our work. So that is why the 10 digpals, who are forces in their own rights, are taken into account. Okay, so when we're talking about the digpals here, we talk about these people. Again, there's a special way to divide, which we can always do on a later date. It's about Indra, Agni, Yama, Nirutti, Varun, Kuber, Vayu, Ishan, Brahma, and Ananta or Vishnu. These are the 8 lords, or should I say the guardians of the 10 directions. Okay. So these 10 directions, they guard very well. Now, when I have to talk about these sages, now there's an American actor, there's an Indian actor I'd rather, I like to take up, because it shows very beautifully in his chart how things are working out. So let me, we all know about Amitabh Bachchan, right? So let's take his chart. Who's Amitabh Bachchan? Amitabh Bachchan, as we all know, is very famous star. And if just for records, if you look back from where he started, there are many who entered the line with him and many who entered the line after him. But many such people dropped out, moved into Olivian. They were nowhere to be seen, heard, ever. But if I look at Amitabh Bachchan, decades, 5 decades, so I'm sure, of constant work. Yes, has there been ups and downs in his life? Obviously, there has been. But every time he went down, he rose up higher. Right? He rose up higher. So let's see his chart. Again, you see, when we are talking about profession, if I'm talking about service, I see the 6th and the 10th. If I'm talking about a business, I see the 7th and the 10th. Okay. So here is his profession. We need to see the 6th and the 10th house. Now, when I'm talking about the D1 is the first chart that I need to take into account. The 6th house is Jupiter. Typically, Jupiter is in Punarvasu. In deep exaltation, it is in Vargottama. Pushkar Namamsh, and it is in Vargot. It's in a very good place, so to say. So his has not been a journey where he has not found people, it's not a place where he has not found people at a, what should I say, causing obstruction to him. And he's had very powerful enemies also. It's an exalted Jupiter sitting. But has he been able to come up? I would always say yes, because it's Punarvasu Nakshatra. He will always The deeper, it's like the ping pong ball. You throw it down, or rather, we had that when we were children, we had those crazy balls. You know, I think they still do have that. You throw it, it goes down and it bounces back with double velocity. So it's that kind of a status that he always would have in life. Now, let's move on to his 10th lord here. When we are talking about the 10th lord, when you're talking about the 10th lord, you have to see that his 10th lord is in the 8th house. 8th house is also the house of resurrection, right? So, and how many of his movies have you seen where he's just passed away? One of the best movies was where he and Jaya Bachchan had worked together. Sholay. Okay, and Agnipath. All these movies. 8th house is also of death, resurrection. All these movies that you will see. And where is the 8th lord present? The 8th lord is present in Hasta. It's Mars. Okay, Mars, Hasta Nakshatra, you will always find one quality that Hasta Nakshatra has, and you can check it across charts, is that they're not bothered about anybody else's success or defeat. We are more bothered about other person's defeat rather than our success. They're not bothered about anybody else's defeat. What they're bothered about is their own work, and they want to raise their bar higher. What more? It's Mars sitting in Hasta. Hasta is typically the hand. How many movies where he has acted as an angry young man, be it as in Gen Z, as a cop, be it in, if you remember the fight sequence of Hum, you know, these things are coming out in my mind as I see. One Gusa, one Lat, that is what he's saying in Hum. And you see where he's using his hand. So you will see that these things are very typical. But then why am I using a divisional chart? Because let me check whether this is actually the case that's going to be, because that's what Parashar Rishi has said. Parashar Rishi has said that you need to check the divisional chart, the D10, to see the profession of the person, or rather the karma of the person. So, and why do we see the profession from the 10th house? Because in those days, there was no word called profession. Because we are spending 10 hours, 8 hours, waking hours in our profession, which forms a part of our karma, which forms a big part of our karma nowadays, because at any given moment, we are on the phone, yes, sir, will happen. No, ma'am, this is not going to happen. This is what we are doing 24/7. Especially after the pandemic, the family life it's all a merge. Right? So this is why we need to check the D10 also. So here, let me put the D10. What did I tell you? The 6th lord. Because if I need to see his business also, because he must be in a business, he's quite well off, right? So we see his sun. His sun is also in Chitra. Which, what does it say? What does the Chitra Nakshatra say? The Chitra Nakshatra talks about a lot of artistic endeavors and being a creator. So I mean, I think you all get my point loud and clear. That is who Amitabh Bachchan is. Right? Now, when we move into the D10, please have a good look at his D10. His 10th lord of the D1 is in the 10th house, in the D10. It is Mars, it is Digbali, and what more? It is the lord of the 9th house, sitting with the lord of the 7th house. What does that say? As per Laghu Parashari, when the Kendra and the Trikon lord, when they sit together, okay, when the Kendra and the Trikon lord sit together, they create a Raj Yoga. Okay, and here they're sitting in the highest Kendra. So a very strong Raj Yoga is created. If you see the 10th lord of, if we see the 10th lord of the D10, it is Swagrahi. That means it's in its own house, and it is also Digbali. So all these things, I am very happy to see that. But can somebody tell me if I look into the Amsha rulers, see at one glance, I'm happy to see this. But if I need to see into the Amsha rulers to know what actually the standing is, okay, let's go by the detail. I am going by Sun. Sun is in Agni. Agni is the Devata that gives, that helps you to move forward in life, become more futuristic. When I'm talking about Yama, because Mars and Jupiter are important for me, I see Mars is in Yama Nakshatra, Yama Amsha. That actually solidifies everything for me. It is said that he is one of the most disciplined, timely, and also respectful towards one and all. He doesn't discriminate. Every time you see him, he's making everybody comfortable there, putting people in their comfort zone. So these are the qualities that Yama has. Does a Yama discriminate between whom he is going to kill, be it a poor person or a rich person? It doesn't discriminate. When they say that the person's time has come, it doesn't matter whether you are a rich guy or a poor guy. And Yama is on dot at his time. That punctual. He's extremely disciplined, highly knowledgeable. And that is what Amitabh Bachchan is. In fact, it's also said that he's always trying to apply and to accept new techniques. There are very few actors, or very few, leave alone actors, anybody in any field. If I move into a comfort zone, I really wouldn't want to come out of that. But he's always innovating, always accepting things. So you can see the Digbali Mars exerting its entire strength there and telling you that, yes, I am happy. And that's the Lord of the D1, 10th Lord of the D1. It's important to see that Lord. And then I'm taking the 10th Lord of the D10 chart. Where is it sitting? It is sitting in the Ananta. What is Ananta? He has, you know what one of the French directors said, he's a one-man industry. Ananta is typically your Sheshnag, who has the entire universe resting on his foot. So he can carry a lot of people on himself. Amitabh Bachchan is known to carry movies on himself. So this is how you can, typically looking at any chart, you should be able to say, pick up a chart and say that, yes, this is the position of the person. An hour goes by pretty fast. So, and let's then move to the nakshatras. We are waiting for that nakshatras also, right? So we are moving. Let's move into the divisional charts. As I told you, you can see the divisional charts here and the 10th house. Okay. So now, when we see it's in Uttar Bhadra and Mars is in Purvashara. Typically, what does Purvashara say? Purvashara is a nakshatra of rejuvenation. It's a nakshatra where shows care and concern. And it is also a nakshatra which gives a lot of love, affection to everyone around, provided that they are also, taken care of. It is a nakshatra that helps you rejuvenate. Time and again, he comes up whenever he feels that there's a lot of stalemate going into the roles. He comes up with something new and innovative. Pa left a landmark for us. Then many movies. I mean, you can in a movie like Hum, where he's played distinctly different roles of different ages, where he's done a lot of care for his family. You will see that happening so often in his movies. And the Uttar Bhadra was the ceiling point as far as I was concerned, because that shows happiness and contentment throughout. That is his 10th Lord in Uttar Bhadra. It is not devoid of ups and downs. It can never be. But it shows a final contentment and a respect for him as such. Okay. I would also like to see the Nakshatra of Sun, because we said that Sun was also his 7th Lord. See, Sun is also in Uttara Sharda, which means undefeated victory for who he is, whichever work he takes up, as on ownership also. So he shouldn't have gone for whatever he went for, but he should, whenever he goes for a work where he sticks to his principles, there he would get an undefeated. So how did you find the session? Any questions? Yeah, I'll be more than happy to take the questions. Seema ji, Apara Vidya or Paravidya? Apara means an education. So in education, you have to then see it, the combination in the D24 chart. You have to take it to a different level, and you will have to take the houses there. Okay, Prashna, that's good. He failed in some of his business, not all of his business, just one of his business. And there is resurrection. You see the 6th house. We've already seen the 6th house. Okay. Thank you, Rashmi. So we've already seen the 6th house of the D1, which is where Jupiter is sitting in his Punarvasu Nakshatra. He's bound to have failures in life. But with every failure, he'll rise up like the phoenix. He'll grow taller. Okay. And then you will see it in the D10 that yes, his share of problems have been there. Okay. But he has been great at it. He is, because also his Mercury, which is the 7th lord in the D10, is also sitting in the Purva Ashada Nakshatra, which means that there will always be resurrection. He will always come up. Sat, we are here to answer these questions on divisional charts. Nakshatras and others, we'll take it some other time. Don't worry. Thank you. You're most welcome. So any other question? See, to each their own. To each their own. I cannot comment Vivek whether you should take up KP or you should do Vedic astrology, which is more important. What are the, and also D1 is the most important, or D9 on any Varga charts for deep analysis. See, D1 is the most important. Thank you, Rashmi, for being a part of our course today. So D1 is most important. Without the D1, you cannot move a step forward, because the D1 is the promise. The D9 is the fruit. It tells you how important that it is. Okay, first come, first serve, one chart. Anybody? First come. So,
ma'am, please take randomly so that
okay.
slow typing
People.
participant can also.
Thank you so much.
Chance.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Yashashri. You have to understand that, Vivek, every divisional chart is important. Every divisional chart is important. But they have been given a different, the different marks as per BPHS. You find that in all standard texts that the marking that they have, the Vimshopak bal that they get, is different as per in divisional charts. So their strength, how much they contribute, the planets contribute, all this is different. But the D1 is very important. The D9 will tell you what the ultimate result is going to be. And the divisional chart, when I'm seeing children. If I'm seeing children, you see the D1 and are you done with? Many times I've seen that they're promised in the D1. But the D9 is not showing that greater promise. People had to go through cesarean. People had to go through, nowadays they go through IVF. Do you get angry fast?
I do.
Can you see that your lagna has come into the Dhruvasa Drekana? You can just I teach how to make the lagna and all. That's a different thing. But here, just by looking at it, you can see that it's come into the Dhruvasa Drekana.
Yes, and how about the Navamsa? Sorry, I'm just going to take a quick photo of this. And how do I see in the Navamsa? Is it the same?
In the Navamsa, it's we take the D2. No, we are not talking about you. Sorry, the D9. In the Navamsa, we're talking about your spouse. But we okay. So I'll be talking about, see, basically you are a person. People do good to you. You do good to them. Okay, you get angry pretty fast. There's also Rahu in the Dhruvasa Nakshatra for you. So there's no stopping. When you get angry, you can really blast a person out. Not because the person is, not because you are too irritated. Let me put it like that. Okay. So I'll take the D3 here and I'll just take the Nakshatra in the D3. Your Lagna is in Uttar Bhadra and your Rahu is also in Uttar Bhadra. So you get irritated at people for not being compassionate. You get irritated at people because they don't understand others enough, or they're doing things in a very wrong manner. Your idea of getting irritated is not for your own self, but the way others behave. That's what Dhruvasa does, and that is what Uttar Bhadra Nakshatra has to teach us. That's what I said. I'll use the Amsa ruler and the Nakshatra to come to a pinpointed result. Okay? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. That it was really good experience to see through my own chart, and there is an anger about, about me, about the system. When things are, when the system fails people, I rage, and that rage is in me. Yeah.
Yes.
I know that. Thank you.
So you see the D10 here. Okay. So you see the D10 here in the D10 chart. Okay. So in the D10 chart, if I'm taking the Lagna, it is about Vishakha. You're very competitive about your work. You're extremely competitive about your work. And let's see the Amsa ruler. So the Amsa ruler is Lagna. Very good. So you saw just now I took it for Amitabh Bachchan. The Lagna is also coming in the Yama Amsa with the Vishakha Nakshatra. You like to multitask. You're always time bound in your work. And once, probably if you would ever fail, it is because you're spreading yourself a little too thin. But you are you like to be on time. And at that I can vouch because you were here. You were one of the first few ones to be dot at 8 o'clock. So that I can vouch.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. So then let's go to the 10th house Lord for you. It's Moon. Moon for you is in Vayu Amsha. Boss, that's it. See, that's why I said the Lagna and the Moon both is saying the same thing. And Rahu is sitting with Moon, or the 10th Lord of this chart is Mars. Let's see Mars of the D1. Where is it sitting? In which Amsha? It's sitting in Nritya Amsa. See, it says that you have the capability of joining the broken pieces and coming up with very good research and helping people restructure themselves again. What is your profession?
I worked in marketing and public relations for years, Anuradha, but I am in a transition now, and this is one of my quests that, I want to serve now. I've worked for money, I worked for a career, I was competitive, but where I am now.
So you see it's coming out. You see it's just all coming out. Can you see that how it's coming out? And see, it's showing that you want to break in your career and then again come. Why? Because that's Nirutti. Nirutti says that you will at one point let go. You will go down. You will go back to the basics. And then you will again, once you've got your, you feel extremely deprived of spiritual energy at the moment. And that is the reason probably you let go. And once you start feeling happy, you would want to go back. Even when you were working, you would take a lot of breaks, say a weekend off, 5 days off to regroup your energy. Did it work like that for you?
No, I was working very intense, but I always needed to retreat.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You needed those 2 days, 5 days, because that's what Nirutti does. You're so off that once you've born of a lot of energy, you need some time to come back to your basics. Otherwise, Nirutti is going to finish you straight off. Okay. Okay. So let me see the nakshatras. These planets for you are in Moon as well as Mars. Okay. Let's go to the detail. See, when I did tell you people to put in your charts. None of you did, and we are running short of time. I would have loved to do that, but then time calls. Okay, so we see that Moon and Mars. Mars is in Stravana, typically doing the work of an administrator, and Moon is in Anuradha, being friendly. See, you can see that. People who know nakshatras, they know Moon is in Anuradha and Mars is in Shravana. What does that show? Shravana is all about administration and Moon is all about PR. Moon, that is Anuradha, is all about PR. See, I would also go ahead and say that Moon is with Rahu. Though you wanted to be friends with everybody, you were in PR, so you had to be friends with everybody. But you were also very cautious about everybody. You didn't trust people easily in your work.
No.
Okay, thank you so much for that affirmation. So we can, nakshatras, I repeat, they are my love of my life, apart from my children, of course. And so I can just tell you that they give you answers to everything. When we are doing divisional charts, the deities, I have always wondered why is it that they say that astrology is Vedanta? We don't find mention of Saturn, we don't find mention of Chandra, we find them as deities there. Soma, we find the mention of Soma or Adityas. We don't find Sun per se in the Vedas. That is because these stories, whether they are true or not, I really am not in the place to contend that. So these stories are the ones that give us a beautiful clue to what these deities can do for us, be it the Amsa rulers or be it the Nakshatras. We've just touched bases today. But at the end of this session, do let me know how you have found our... See, Vivek, I told you first, I gave 2 minutes time. And she took the challenge up and she came up with her chart. Okay, so anybody else, anything that you have to say? Okay, so D1, no, the D10 or the D9 or whatever that there is, we will also have to check that Varga chart for the promise, for the timing of the events also. Varga charts are important. You have to see, because timing is not just Dasha and Antar Dasha. You have to go deeper into Pratyantar and then deeper levels, and then those rulers become very important. Nakshatras, see, according to me, nakshatras are the be all and end all. But then all of us have different roads which lead us to the same road. For me, the road is through nakshatras.
Agree.
Anuradha.
Thank you. Yes.
It's like the icing on the cake.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, yes.
My teacher, for example, is
Thank you, Rashmi. Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
My teacher is not for looking at nakshatras in divisional charts, and the way she says, I can definitely see everything through nakshatras in the divisional charts, especially in my Navamsa. But my teacher says, if you look at nakshatras, everyone will have all the 27 nakshatras everywhere.
See, I am sure that they do. Okay. And I know it for sure that I do. I know it for sure that I do. Why go into anybody else's chart? I know it for sure that I do. But I play different roles in life. I am a mother.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I am a mother. I am a daughter. I am a sister. I am a wife. I am a teacher. And all these roles pertain to different divisional charts. I, as an individual, as Anuradha, is the D1. As a wife, I am the D9. As a mother, I am the D12. Or as for my children, I see it from my D7. As a student, I see it from the D24. And in each role, I have a different way to handle every role, so that each divisional chart, what it's speaking out for me. See, as I told you, that as a person, when you get angry at others for not, but that is your intrinsic nature. But when you are in your job, you are focused. You are friendly to everybody. you're good at as an administrator. So as a person, you are different, and as a businesswoman or as a professional, you are different.
Mhm.
And
And-
in divisional charts, we are following those ways.
Yes, and I agree with you on this. Totally agree with you on this. But can I also ask, how did you arrive at this conclusion? Is there any, text that
Try again.
refer to?
No.
Or you
See,
tested this? You tested this through charts. You tested nakshatras through looking at charts.
No. The nakshatras are there. They say that all the classical texts, all our classic, not just astrological classical texts, all our Upanishads, all our Samhitas, they have mundane astrology. They have a lot to say on astrology. So you can pick up stories from there, and you can then move through the nakshatras in that manner. Another thing.
No, I meant the application of it in
The
divisional
application of nakshatras, well, I've been working on it for quite some time. In divisional charts.
Yes, and there's school of thoughts that apply it and not apply it. Am I right?
See, I wouldn't contest with that. What's goose for one is gander for another. Anybody else, people would say that I'm giving her all the time. So I will have to give somebody else a time to ask the questions. Please ask questions. We're more than happy to answer. But the thing is, honestly speaking, the thing is, I can only speak from my experience. I cannot speak for others. My experience says it works, so it works for me. Okay.
Understand. Okay, thank you.
You're most welcome. So, ma'am, kindly look up at my query. For actual where planets is located, we must Bhava Kundli. I do not know about the Bhava Kundli, the D1, if you're Rasi chart, if you're asking. Yes. And D1 is Vivek, D1 and D9 both are important. D1, you make the general prediction. If I want to talk about just my spouse, my partner, or my religious activities, I'll go to D9, I'll see the placement there. And I'll have to learn to correlate. That correlation learning has to come, Vivek. Okay. So, Kan Vivaksha, thank you. Thank you so much, Rachna. Kan Vipak Samita, does it work for nakshatras? I'll have to say, sorry, I have read many books, but I have not read Karan Vipak Samita in all honesty. So I will not be able to say whether there are stories about the nakshatras there. I have read Agni Puran, I have read the Vishnu Puran. So all those books I know, they have a lot of information on nakshatras. Atharva Ved will give you a big hymn on nakshatras. So I do know that they come from those places.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello, Vivek.
Hello, ma'am. I'm looking forward to people's tips and techniques from.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, ma'am. More videos from him.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can I see you, Vivek? You always see me on YouTube. Let me also see you today.
Ma'am, I'm trying to start my video, but it can, yes, it's telling that please allow Zoom to access your camera from device setting. And what is telling that?
Okay, so probably there's a problem.
I'm following your Instagram too, and I'm also a researcher, and I'm searching from many years, so that that I want to generate more knowledge.
Thank you so much, Vivek. Thank you so much, Vivek. Amsha ruler story. So there are so many Amsha rulers. So as we go along with every divisional charts, the stories start rolling out. And they are also from all over the Puranas and Bhagavad and all those places. They're from everywhere. Okay. They're a collection that I've had over 50 years of my lifetime journey. So any other question, anybody?
Yeah, mostly we have heard that for Bhavas, we must focus on the Bhavas Kundali. Actually, where the planets there, so that they are telling from their personal experience, I think. So so I'm taking the Krishnamurti system also, the KP for they are telling that it is most accurate.
See, people, I'll tell you one thing. Vivek. People sailing in multiple boats generally sink. Stay to one, faithful to one line of work, you will do good. If you're following KP, there's nothing wrong in following KP. It gives astounding answers. But if you're moving all over the place, it can be a little difficult because this
Yes, ma'am.
ocean is so vast. That if
Yes, ma'am.
I manage to be on the shores
yeah.
for the nakshatras, I'll find myself blessed in this lifetime.
Yeah, ma'am. I also wanted to go to Nostra. I want to play it. That means normally mainly astrologers focus on D1 chart only. So that I think the predictions is not much accurate. I think so. They not go so deep.
I
So I
could not
think
understand you, Vivek. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
ma'am.
I could not understand.
Mostly the astrologers. I'm from Nepal, so that mostly they go through D1 chart only. So that I think mostly they are incomplete. I think for the good prediction. So that I think watching your videos and people short videos. I think they should go for deeper level. I think for deeper level they should focus on nostro placement.
Yes,
Also
it
where
is
it is
important for
located.
deeper level. Yes, it is important. Neeraj Kher, we'll definitely answer your question some other time when we're doing exclusively nakshatras and tithis. Okay. Purnima born are Pakshvali, not to worry. That's good. Okay. So any general question, any technical question that you people have about this will be, I mean, I want to make this session a little more interesting for the next 5 to 7 minutes before we leave.
And ma'am, one question, ma'am. Like from D9, D9, we just see our luck and our happiness with our spouse or many different
We can see
things.
everything from D9. We can see everything from D9. I have made a video on how to see the strength of planets on D9. Let's give somebody else a chance also. I think Anandraj, he wanted to ask something because he's got
Okay.
his video on.
No, ma'am, I'm fine. Thank you. I'll give others to ask a question. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing everything.
Thank you. Did you like the session? I saw your questions also on the chat. So did you like the session?
Yeah, of course. It's very nice session. And actually, I came late. I didn't know. Yeah, I hope that next session I will come early to join you. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a Hindi session coming up tomorrow for those who want to join me there. But I can also tell you that we'll, over a period of time, after some time, we'll also be uploading this session on YouTube. So stay tuned for it.
Thank you.
So so there are no technical questions coming up. If anybody has. Ma'am, is it true that D9 activates after marriage? Rachna, that's a beautiful question. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to remove this doubt from people's mind. But it's there. What are your views on it? I do not know who said that D9s get activated with after our marriage. But then the many people who have partners, don't we have love interest nowadays? The children definitely do have. I'm not talking about my grandmother-in-law's time when they never got to see their spouse. In today's day and time, children do have love interests in life. So where do you see it from? You see it from the 5th house, and then you take it to the D9 also to see if your childhood sweetheart is going to be the person you get to marry. You see your partners, people, even partners and your enemies, strong enemies from the D9 chart. Not to worry. It was a good question. It was a good question. Okay, so I think we'll thank you. You're most welcome. Anybody, I just want to thank all of you for being a part of this session. We will be having a Hindi session tomorrow evening. So any of you who have missed out on this session, want to join tomorrow's session, more than welcome for it. And
Ma'am.
yes,
ma'am. Ma'am, my life is going according to my D1 chart only, ma'am. I think so much.
No. You think it's going according to the D1, but anyways, okay. So there's more to astrology than just the D1. Trust me on that. But that's for some other time. And all of you have a good weekend coming up. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.